This just might be the prettiest t-shirt in the world. The ruched panels give this top designer appeal. This free pattern is the Arena Ruched Sleeve Top by Tiana's Closet. The fabric I'm using in today's video is a soft olive bamboo stretch French terry from Nature's Fabrics. I'm sewing this top completely with my sewing machine using a zigzag stitch with a width of 0.5 and length of 2.5 for each main seam. I use a zigzag both 2.5 wide and long for top stitching and hems, and a lightning bolt stitch to sew the neckband. A new and wonderful tool I'm using today are my Duckbill Scissors, great for cutting very close to seam lines and keeping any material underneath safe from the blade. I'll link these scissors below. Join me today in making a unique statement t-shirt. Let's get started. Place your front and back pieces right sides together and pin the side seams. Sew each of your side seams with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Here is my main bodice turned right side out, and I'm going to take one of my sleeve underarm pieces and place it right sides together with its corresponding underarm, matching the notch on the pattern with the underarm seam, and pinning along that underarm curve. Doing this for both underarm sleeve pieces. Then sew both of these underarm seams with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Here is my sleeve panel piece that I'm going to sew gathering stitches along both long edges. Using the longest stitch on my machine and about a 1/4 inch seam allowance, I'll sew from the top to the bottom of the sleeve panel on both sides, doing this for both sleeve panels. Here is my bodice turned wrong side out, and here are the top edges of the underarm sleeve that we've attached. We're going to gather the basted edges of the sleeve panel so that it fits from the neckline to the bottom of the sleeve. Once the panel is gathered on both sides, place it right sides together with either side of the underarm sleeve piece, matching the raw edges and pinning in place, pinning from the neckline to the bottom of the sleeve. Then we'll sew both sides of the side panel to the garment with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, doing this for both side panels. Before you start attaching the neckband to the neckline, placing it right sides together, sew the short ends with a 1/2 inch seam allowance and press the seam open. Once I have it sewn together with the seam allowance pressed, I'll fold it once again wrong sides together, all the way around. I'll mark the 1/4 points of the neckband, and the 1/4 points of the neckline, and then pin the neckband to the neckline matching the 1/4 points. And I'll place the seam of my neckband at the back of the garment. Then I'll sew the neckband in place with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Press your seam allowance down toward the garment and top stitch in place about 1/8 of an inch away from the original seam line. Trim any excess seam allowance on the inside, trimming all the way around close to our top stitching. I'm going to switch to my Duckbill Scissors, which will help me trim that seam allowance close to the stitching line without risking cutting through the front of the garment. Now that the neckline is finished, we can do our hems. The hem allowance for the bottom of the garment and for the bottom of the sleeves is 1/2 inch. Fold the raw edge of the garment along the bottom to the wrong side by 1/2 inch and pin in place all the way around. Repeat to prepare the hem along the bottom of the sleeves. Hem the bottoms of the sleeves and the bottom of the garment in your preferred method. And now the top is complete. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss upcoming sew-alongs, and I'll see you in the next video.